Lenovo's new Legion 5 Pro and Legion 7 are both Ryzen-powered gaming laptops, but is it worth paying more money for the higher tier 7? I've compared both laptops to show you the differences and help you decide which is worth it. Both laptops are available with different specs, and I've got the highest spec options of each. As this means I can't directly compare CPU and GPU performance, I'll instead approach the comparison from the point of view of seeing what both laptops can offer in the best case. They both have a metal lid with a dark grey finish. The Legion 7's looks a little cleaner. The interior of both is similar too, same keyboard and touchpad layout. The 7 is covered in RGB lighting, from the light bar on the front and sides to the vents, while the 5 Pro has far less bling. The 5 Pro is a little heavier than the 7, and this is still the case with the cables, as both have large 300 watt power bricks. The 5 Pro is slightly wider and thicker compared to the 7, so along with weighing a little less, the 7 is also a bit smaller, but it's not really an amount you'll notice. Both have the exact same 16-inch 16x10 165Hz screen. The panel part number is the same in both laptops. As a result, the color gamut is essentially the same, just small differences within margin of error, and both also get above 500 nits at maximum brightness. Again, just small minor differences due to manufacturing variances. Both laptops have a mux switch which can be used to disable Optimus after a reboot. With Optimus disabled, both have G-Sync, or with Optimus enabled, both have FreeSync. Both laptops have a screen overdrive mode to boost response time, and with that enabled, they're both offering similar results. Again, the exact same panel is used on both laptops, so this is expected. There's going to be a little variance one way or the other. Basically consider them equal despite my 7 looking slightly better, that's just luck of the draw. Both of my units had basically no backlight bleed, but this will vary between laptops and panels. The screen on the 7 goes the full 180 degrees back, while the screen on the 5 Pro stops sooner. Both have a 720p camera above the screen in the middle, and both have a switch on the right to physically disconnect the camera to ensure privacy. This is what the camera and microphone look and sound like on the 5 Pro, and this is what they both look and sound like over on the 7. The 7 also has Tobii Horizon, which tracks your head in supported games and adjusts the camera angle based on where you look. The 5 Pro does not have this. The layouts of both keyboards are the same. My 5 Pro just has a white keyboard, but it's also available with a 4-zone RGB option. Meanwhile, the 7 has per-key RGB lighting with much more customization available. The RGB on the 7 is controlled with the Corsair IQ software, while the 5 Pro with RGB does not use this. Personally, I preferred typing on the 7. The keyboards are quite similar, but it felt sturdier, possibly a bit clickier. It's hard to really explain, but if you look closely on the 5, you can see when I push a key down, the others near it are affected more when compared to doing the same thing on the 7. The precision touchpads on both are the same. They're similar, but the 5 Pro just felt like it had a nicer click to me. It's possible they're exactly the same and this is just some manufacturing tolerance or something, but the 5 Pro was a little louder. Both are the same on the left. Air exhaust vent at the back, a USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type-C port with DisplayPort 1.4 support, and a 3.5mm audio combo jack. The right is a little different. Both have the camera disconnect switch and an air exhaust vent on this side too. The Legion 7 has a Type-C port, while the 5 Pro has Type-A, but both are the same USB 3.2 Gen 1 speed. The rest of the I/O is on the back, and both are the same here. From left to right there's Gigabit Ethernet, a second USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type-C port, again with DisplayPort 1.4 like the one on the left, but this one also lets you charge the laptop. Otherwise there are 3 USB 3.2 Gen 1 Type-A ports, HDMI 2.1 output, and the power input on the far right. So for those not keeping track, basically the only difference is that on the right of the 5 Pro there's USB Type-A, while the 7's is Type-C. That's it. Although both laptops have icons above the rear ports, the 7 actually lights them up, which I found much more useful when trying to plug in a darker room. Plus we've got the option of turning them on or off with this shortcut. All display outputs connect directly to the NVIDIA graphics, which makes sense given both let you disable Optimus. The lighting on the lids can be turned on or off with this shortcut, though this only works on the 7 if there's no IQ effect in place. The bottom panels were similar, clean with air intake vents up the back above the fans. The internal layout was very similar. Both have black metal covers over the M.2 slots and memory. Both have the battery down the front, 2 M.2 storage slots above the battery, 2 memory slots towards the middle, and the Wi-Fi 6 card to the right. The main difference is the 7 has a vapor chamber cooler, while the 5 Pro uses a regular heat pipe solution. It's also worth noting that the fans and vapor chamber are one attached attached unit, so there's less gaps for air to escape. Both laptops have a 4-cell 80 Wh battery, though they're slightly different part numbers. The Legion 7 has a big issue when it comes to battery drain, which I've explained in the full review video linked down in the description. But basically, the Corsair iCUE software makes it use more power than it should. Thankfully, fixing this is as simple as stopping the Corsair service and not running the iCUE software. But then that does mean that you can't run custom RGB effects. On the other hand, this isn't an issue with the 5 Pro as it doesn't have iCUE software for modifying RGB. With both on a level playing field, despite the differences in specs, the battery life is extremely comparable. It's also possible to boost the battery life by a couple of hours by changing the screen refresh rate to 60 Hz, which can easily be done with the Function plus R shortcut on both laptops. The speakers definitely sound better on the 7, there was more bass and they sounded clearer, but I'd still say the 5 Pro is above average for a gaming laptop. Now, although I can't directly compare thermals fairly as both have different CPUs and GPUs, the differences are still interesting and are worth discussing. Both laptops have the same performance modes available through the Vantage software, but I'll just compare max performance modes to keep things simple here. Check the reviews linked below if you want thermal results for all performance profiles. Despite the Legion 7 having higher specs and being in a smaller chassis, it's running cooler both at idle and with the stress test running. Now, it's only a small difference, but still interesting to point out, which I think demonstrates the benefit on offer with the vapor chamber cooler in the 7. The Legion 7 is clocking higher too, but that's expected. The CPU in the Legion 7, for instance, is a 5900HX, which is basically a better binned 5800H, which is what my 5 Pro has. The higher CPU clock speed is despite both running at about the same TDP, so that further confirms the 5900HX is a better binned chip. Although both laptops have full-powered GPUs, the 3080 has a higher 150 watt limit compared to the 125 watts of the 3070, at least when the CPU is also fully loaded. So again, despite the 7 using more power, it was also a little cooler and hitting higher clocks. Both laptops are offering the best results I've seen in Cinebench R23 out of any laptops I've tested for their class of CPU. So the 7 is at the top out of the 5900HX machines, while the 5 Pro is at the top out of the 5800H machines. Great results from both. Performance lowers on both when running on battery power, but still great results, and the Ryzen 9 5900HX is still coming out ahead here too. Both were cool to the touch when just sitting there idle. Low 30s is pretty normal for gaming laptops. When under load though, the Legion 7 was noticeably warmer on the keyboard. It's still by no means hot, but the 5 Pro was cooler. Let's have a listen to fan noise. Both were quiet when sitting idle, and when under load, the 7 was perhaps a tiny bit louder. And it's worth noting that neither laptop offers fan customization, but the different performance modes will control this to a degree. There probably isn't that much point in comparing games as they both have different CPU and GPU, but I've still done it so that you can get an idea of how the best version of the 5 Pro compares against the best version of the Legion 7. And as I've mentioned in this video over here, it is possible to boost the performance of the 5 Pro by changing the memory. So I've included those results too. Battlefield 5 was tested in campaign mode, and I've got both laptops at stock highlighted in red and the Legion 5 Pro with the memory change in green. The memory change alone really lowers the difference between them, and interestingly puts the 1% lower of the 5 Pro ahead. Shadow of the Tomb Raider was tested with the game's benchmark tool. Again, the Legion 7 is ahead, but simply by changing the memory of the 5 Pro, we can get a much closer result from the cheaper and lower spec laptop. Far Cry 5 was also tested using the game's benchmark, and the memory modified 5 Pro was almost the same as the 7 in this one, though this is more of a CPU heavier test, and I suppose RAM makes more of a difference there. It's worth noting that those memory changes in the 5 Pro don't seem to make as big of a difference at higher resolutions, such as the native 2560 by 1600 that the screen actually offers. At the same time though, at higher resolutions, the differences in 3070 and 3080 GPU might also make more of a difference. I have also tested both of these laptops in newer games at higher resolutions in the dedicated game test videos linked below. Now let's check out some content creator workloads. I've tested Adobe Premiere with the Puget Systems benchmark. Again, better specs with the 7, so we're expecting it to win, but the 5 Pro is still stacking up well compared to others. It's a similar deal in Adobe Photoshop too, and then they're closer together in DaVinci Resolve. Obviously the Legion 7 has the edge in SpecView Perf too. This is a GPU heavy test, and the 7 has the higher powered 3080. Both of mine came with the same model of 1TB NVMe M.2 SSD, so it's not surprising to see that they're performing about the same. Out of the box in Ubuntu 20, both had working Wi-Fi, keyboard, keyboard, touchpad, and camera. The speakers on the 5 Pro worked, but not on the 7, though I'm sure with some updates or extra installs you could fix it. Basic keyboard lighting and performance modes are baked into firmware, so you don't need software in Linux. The BIOS on both is essentially the same, similar looking options and more settings compared to most laptops. Granted, many of the settings here are also presented through the Vantage software too. Alright, let's discuss price next. You're going to have to refer to the links in the description, as prices will change over time. But also, neither laptop has launched just yet in the US. I've heard June. The prices announced at CES in January were that the 5 Pro would start at $1,000 while the 7 would start at $1,700. But if the minimum specs are different, then it's hard to compare. Regardless, the 5 Pro is clearly the more mid-range option, while the 7 is the higher-end, more premium product. Here in Australia, with the same specs, we're looking at about $220 Australian dollars more for the 7, which is about $150 once you take away our tax. Overall, the Legion 7 does have some nice extra features. I don't think any of them are important requirements by any means, and the 5 Pro is still a great laptop, but if you're after all the bells and whistles, then the 7 is clearly the way to go. Neither of these laptops is perfect, but nothing in life is. The biggest issue I had with the 5 Pro is that you seem to be missing out on performance with the stock memory. That difference alone will probably make the 7 look better, even if you're comparing both laptops with the same CPU and GPU, which could be by design to make the 7 look better. The 7 on the other hand has the battery drain issue with the Corsair iQ software. Fortunately, both of these problems are pretty easy to fix. You can just stop the Corsair software and that one's solved. And with the 5 Pro, you can install more memory. But unfortunately, doing that does cost more money. Anyway, I'd be perfectly happy using the 5 Pro. But if budget permits, then the extra features of the 7 were nice. And if the 7 is around 10% more money compared to the 5 Pro, like it is here in Australia, I'd probably just pay the little extra and get the 7. So with all of that in mind, let me know which of these two laptops you'd pick down in the comments. Legion 5 Pro or Legion 7? Get subscribed for more upcoming laptop comparisons like this one. In particular, I'll be comparing the 5 Pro against the HP Omen 15 soon. Come and join us in Discord and get behind the scenes videos by supporting the channel on Patreon. And if you need any further information on either of these laptops, then check out the full review videos over here, as I go into even more information in those. So I'll see you over in one of those next.